What if the thing you already know, the skill you have right now, the knowledge already sitting inside your head, could make you $1 million? Not someday, not after years of more studying, right now. Most people walk through life completely blind to the gold mine they are sitting on. They scroll through social media watching other people build businesses, share advice, lead audiences, and make real money, and they think, that is not for me. I am not an expert. I have nothing special to offer. But here is what those people do not understand. You do not have to be the best in the world. You just have to be a few steps ahead of someone who desperately needs what you know. There are people right now searching online, watching videos, losing sleep because they cannot solve a problem that you already solved years ago. They would pay good money for your guidance, but they cannot find you because you are still hiding. Today, that changes. We are breaking down one of the most powerful books ever written on turning your knowledge into a movement, your expertise into a business, and your ideas into income. This is Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. And by the end of this video, you will have a clear step-by-step system to find your voice, build your audience, sell your ideas, and change your life. Stay with me. This one is going to be different. Before we dive in, if you are new here, welcome to Millionaire Playbook. This channel exists for one reason only, to give you real, actionable strategies that you can actually use to transform your mindset and your income. We don't do fluff here. We don't do motivation without direction. Every video on this channel is built to help you implement, not just feel inspired. So if that speaks to you, hit subscribe right now and turn on notifications. The people who build better lives are the ones who take information seriously and put it to work. Let us build together. What is Expert Secrets? Russell Brunson is the founder of ClickFunnels, a software company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But before all of that, he was just someone who learned something valuable and found a way to share it with the world. Expert Secrets is his roadmap for doing exactly that. The book is organized around one central idea, that there is a proven, repeatable process for turning your knowledge, your passion, your unique perspective into a mass movement of people who will follow you, trust you, and pay you for your guidance. The book has 5 sections. We're going to go through all of them, one by one, and pull out the most important lessons so you can start applying them today. Let us begin. The 2 types of expert businesses. Brunson starts by explaining that there are really 2 kinds of people who can benefit from this system. The first type is someone who wants to build a brand new business from scratch based on what they already know. Maybe you've spent years mastering fitness, investing, relationships, cooking, productivity, or any other topic. You want to package that knowledge and create a business around it. The second type is someone who already runs a traditional business, a dentist, a lawyer, a gym owner, a coach, and wants to use expert positioning to attract more customers, reduce advertising costs, and build real loyalty. Both of these paths lead to the same place, an expert business. And expert businesses are among the most profitable businesses in the world because your core product, your knowledge, costs almost nothing to produce and can be sold to an unlimited number of people. But here's where most people get stuck. They believe they are not qualified to call themselves an expert. Brunson destroys that belief early. He says you do not need a degree. You do not need decades of experience. You just need to be one chapter ahead of someone who needs help. If you have solved a problem someone else is struggling with right now, you have the foundation of an expert business. Now let's talk about how to build it. Secret 1, the charismatic leader and attractive character. Every mass movement in history has been led by someone, a person people look to, trust, and follow. But Brunson is quick to point out that this does not mean you need to be born confident or naturally charismatic. He openly admits that in his personal life, he's shy and reserved, but the moment he steps into his area of expertise, he becomes someone people want to follow. This is the concept of the attractive character, And it's not about being perfect, it's about being real. Your audience is not looking for a polished robot. They're looking for someone who has been where you are, who has struggled with what they are struggling with, and found a way through. Brunson teaches that every attractive character is built on 4 key elements. The first is backstory. You need to share where you came from, the struggles you went through, the failures you experienced. People don't connect with your achievements, they connect with your journey. The second is character traits. You need to stand for something specific. Maybe you're brutally honest, maybe you're fearless, maybe you're deeply curious. Your audience needs to know who you are as a person. The third is your moral stance. What do you believe so strongly that you would fight for? Your audience wants to know what hill you are willing to die on. And the fourth is your communication style. Are you a storyteller? Are you a teacher? Are you a challenger? You need to find the mode of communication that feels most natural to you and double down on it. The action step is write down your backstory in 3 paragraphs. Include a specific moment where everything felt hopeless and then describe the turning point that changed everything. That story is your foundation. Secret 2. The cause. People don't just follow leaders, they follow causes. Think about the most powerful movements in human history. Every single one of them had a shared mission that gave people something bigger than themselves to be a part of. Brunson says that your job as an expert is to articulate that cause clearly and powerfully. Not just, I will teach you to lose weight, but something with heart behind it. Something like, I'm fighting against a diet industry that has been lying to you for decades, and I'm going to show you the truth. Do you feel the difference? One is a service, the other is a movement. Your cause gives your audience an identity. They are not just customers, they are members of something. They belong to a community of people who share the same beliefs, the same frustrations, and the same vision of what is possible. When you create that sense of belonging, you stop competing on price. You stop worrying about competitors because you have something no competitor can copy, a loyal tribe. Secret 3. The new opportunity. This is one of the most powerful concepts in the entire book. Brunson teaches that you should never position what you offer as an improvement on something people are already doing. Because when you tell someone their current approach just needs to be done better, they feel like a failure, and people don't buy things that make them feel like failures. Instead, you need to offer a new opportunity. A new opportunity says, the reason you haven't succeeded is not your fault. The old vehicle you were using was broken from the start. Here's a completely new path that changes everything. He explains this using the concept of a red ocean versus a blue ocean. A red ocean is a crowded market full of competition. If you say, I have a better diet plan, you're just adding to the red ocean of weight loss solutions. Every bookstore shelf is already full of them. But a blue ocean is uncontested space. It's where you introduce something so fresh and so different that there's no direct competition. People lean in. Curiosity is triggered. One powerful example from the book, instead of selling another low-carb diet program, you introduce the concept of drinking ketones to instantly put your body into ketosis without giving up carbs. That's not an improvement, that's a new opportunity. Your action step here is to ask yourself, what is the new opportunity I'm offering? How does it make everything my audience has tried before look outdated? Write that answer down. That becomes the core of your message. Secret 4. The opportunity switch. Here's where it gets practical. Brunson teaches something called the opportunity switch headline. This is the single sentence that captures your new opportunity and makes people want to know more. The formula is simple. How to achieve desired result without old frustrating method they hate. For example, how to build a 6-figure online business without quitting your job or spending money on ads. Or how to get in the best shape of your life without giving up the foods you love. Notice what these headlines do. They promise the outcome the audience wants, and they remove the obstacle the audience fears. That combination is magnetic. Once you have your headline, you also need 5 different curiosity hooks. Brunson outlines each one. The first hook is called What, How, and Why. You tease a concept that most people don't know about yet. The second is called the contrarian hook. You go against mainstream thinking and show why conventional wisdom is wrong. The third is the secret hook. You hint at hidden knowledge that most people in the field will never discover. The fourth is the crystal ball hook. You show how something that worked in the past is about to become obsolete and why your new approach is the future. And the fifth is revisiting the fundamentals. You argue that things have gotten too complicated and that your approach strips it back down to what actually works. Pick one of these hooks, combine it with your opportunity switch headline, and you have the beginning of a message that spreads. The Big Domino, Secret 5. Now we move into section 2 of the book, which is all about creating belief. Brunson introduces one of his most important frameworks here, the Big Domino. The idea is this: when someone refuses to buy from you or follow your advice, it is never because of one objection. It is because of one core belief they do not yet have. And until that one belief is in place, no amount of information, bonuses, or guarantees will close the sale. Your job is to identify that one belief and knock it down like a domino. Once that first domino falls, everything else follows. For example, if you were selling a funnel building software, the big domino is not "funnels are easy to build" or "our software is the best." The big domino is "funnels are the key to success in online business." If someone truly believes that, then they absolutely want the tool that builds the best funnels. So ask yourself right now, what is the one belief my audience must have for everything else to fall into place? Write that down. That is your big domino statement. Secret 6, the Epiphany Bridge. Now you have your big domino, but how do you get someone to believe it? You do not lecture them. You do not show them statistics. You tell them a story. Specifically, you tell them an Epiphany Bridge story. An Epiphany Bridge is the story of the moment you went from not believing to believing, the moment your own big domino fell. The structure of an Epiphany Bridge story has 6 parts. First is the backstory. Who were you before and what were you struggling with? Second is the desire. What did you desperately want to achieve? Third is the wall. What problem did you hit that made your old approach completely stop working? Fourth is the epiphany. What did you discover, see, or experience that completely changed how you saw things? Fifth is the result. What happened after you applied this new belief? And sixth is the transformation. How are you different as a person because of this journey? When you tell this kind of story, something remarkable happens. Your audience does not just hear information, they experience the same emotional journey you went through. And by the end of the story, they arrive at the same epiphany you did. Not because you told them to believe it, but because the story led them there naturally. That is the power of the Epiphany Bridge. And Brunson says he uses stories almost constantly. In a recent presentation, someone counted the number of stories he told in 60 minutes. The answer was over 50, almost one per minute. Your action step: write your own Epiphany Bridge story for your core topic. Follow all 6 parts. Practice telling it out loud until it feels natural. Secrets 7 and 8, the hero's 2 journeys. Brunson draws on classic storytelling theory here and applies it to selling and persuasion. He explains that every great story has 2 journeys happening at the same time. The first journey is external. This is the visible goal the hero is trying to achieve: make the money, lose the weight, save the relationship. The second journey is internal. This is the invisible battle happening inside the hero: the fear, the self-doubt, the identity struggle. And here is the crucial insight. People buy based on the external journey, but they are really motivated by the internal one.
When someone says they want to make more money, what they really want is to feel valued, to feel capable, to feel like they matter. When someone says they want to lose weight, what they really want is to feel confident, to feel loved, to feel worthy. If you only speak to the external journey, you reach their rational mind. If you also speak to the internal journey, you reach their heart, and the heart is what drives decisions. So when you tell your Epiphany Bridge story, make sure you describe both what you were trying to achieve on the outside and how you were feeling on the inside. That emotional honesty is what creates deep connection with your audience. Secret 9 and 10. False belief patterns and the 3 secrets. Even after hearing your Epiphany Bridge story, your audience will still have doubts. These doubts come from what Brunson calls false belief patterns. A false belief is a story someone has told themselves, usually based on a past painful experience, that now blocks them from taking action. For example, every time I try to start a business, I fail. Or, people like me don't make real money online. Or, I'm not smart enough to build a following. These beliefs feel like facts to the person holding them, but they're just old stories. Brunson says your job is to identify the most common false beliefs your audience holds, find the experience that likely caused that belief, understand the story they're telling themselves as a result, and then tell an Epiphany Bridge story that breaks the old story and replaces it with a new one. Here's the breakthrough. You don't argue against the false belief. That never works. You just replace the story underneath it with a better story, and the new story does the convincing for you. He then organizes all false beliefs into 3 categories, which he calls the 3 secrets. The first category is beliefs about the vehicle, meaning doubts about whether your method or opportunity actually works at all. The second category is internal beliefs, meaning doubts about whether they personally have what it takes to succeed. And the third category is external beliefs, meaning doubts about things outside their control, lack of time, lack of money, the economy, their circumstances. For every major offer you create, you need to have an Epiphany Bridge story ready for each of these 3 categories. When you can address all 3, you have removed almost every reason someone would not take action. Section 2. Your moral obligation. This section of the book shifts the mindset in a powerful way. Brunson quotes J. Abraham, who said, "If you truly believe that what you have is useful and valuable to your clients, then you have a moral obligation to try to serve them in every way possible." That one sentence changes everything about how you approach selling. Most people feel uncomfortable selling because they see it as taking something from someone, asking for money, imposing on people. But if you genuinely believe your knowledge can change someone's life, then not selling it is actually the selfish act. You're withholding something valuable because you're afraid of how it looks. Brunson says, when you believe in what you're offering, marketing becomes a responsibility. This mindset shift from discomfort to obligation is what separates people who build great businesses from those who stay stuck. Secret 11. The stack slide. Now we get into the mechanics of how to present your offer so people feel it would be crazy not to buy. Brunson introduces a presentation concept called the stack. The fundamental principle is this: people don't buy a product, they buy a collection of perceived value. The way most people present offers is destructive. They say, "Here's the program, it costs this much," and the audience immediately starts weighing the price against their perception of value, and the perception almost always loses. The stack changes this by building value piece by piece, so that by the time you announce the price, the audience has already decided in their head that it's worth far more than you're asking for. Here's how it works. You introduce each element of your offer one at a time. After each element, you tell the audience what that element alone would normally cost. Then you add it to the stack, so the running total keeps climbing. By the time you reveal all the elements and their individual values, the total might be 10 times what you're actually charging. Then you reveal the real price, and the contrast feels extraordinary. The key is that every element in your stack must directly address one of the 3 secrets. One element knocks out vehicle doubt, another knocks out internal doubt, another removes external obstacles. When your stack is built this way, it's not just valuable, it's strategically necessary. Secret 12 to 16, the perfect webinar. Everything in the book builds towards what Brunson calls the perfect webinar. The perfect webinar is a proven presentation framework that takes a cold audience from curious to buying in 90 minutes. And while it was designed for online webinars, the same framework works for live presentations, video sales letters, email sequences, and even one-on-one conversations. Here's the structure. The first 15 to 30 minutes is called the one thing. You open by making a single powerful promise. You're going to teach them one thing today that will change everything. You're not going to overwhelm them with information, just one transformational idea. You then tell the story of how you discovered this one thing. This is your epiphany bridge story. You share your backstory, you build rapport, you establish your credibility not through credentials, but through your journey. Then you deliver real value. You teach content that actually helps people and proves your expertise. Brunson is very clear here. The goal of teaching in a webinar is not to give people so much free content that they don't need to buy.
The goal is to give them enough content to believe that your paid system is the answer they need. Teaching creates belief. Belief creates buyers. After the teaching section, you move into the offer. This is where the stack comes in. You build value piece by piece, handle the 3 secrets through story, and create a moment where saying yes feels like the obvious move. Then come the trial closes. These are small questions sprinkled throughout the presentation that get the audience nodding and agreeing. Things like, "Does that make sense?" or "Can you see how this could work for you?" Each small agreement builds momentum toward the big decision at the end. And then come the closes. Brunson lists over 15 different closing techniques in the book. They range from the "if you only got" close, which reminds the audience of the massive value they have already received, to the "two choices" close, which frames inaction as a loss. From the reluctant hero close, where you humble yourself and say you are no different from them, to the now and later close, where you paint a vivid picture of life before and after. Each closing technique addresses a different mental state. You layer them together because different people are held back by different things. Section 4. The funnels. Once you have your message and your offer, you need a system that delivers it automatically. Brunson outlines 4 main funnel types in Expert Secrets. The first is the perfect webinar funnel. Someone sees your ad or your content, they sign up for your free webinar, they watch your presentation live or recorded, and they buy. The second is the 4-question close funnel for high-ticket offers. This is a phone-based sales process where you use 4 powerful questions to guide a prospect to close a premium offer, sometimes worth tens of thousands of dollars. The third is the email epiphany funnel. Instead of a webinar, you deliver your epiphany bridge story and teaching through a sequence of emails over several days. Each email knocks down one false belief. By the end of the sequence, the audience is ready to buy. The fourth is the product launch funnel. This is a multi-video series where you release teaching content over several days, build massive anticipation, and then open sales for a limited window. All 4 funnels use the same foundational principles. They tell stories, they break false beliefs, they build perceived value, and they present an irresistible offer. The funnel is just the delivery mechanism. The message is what actually does the selling. Section 5. Fill your funnel.
Building a great offer and a beautiful funnel means nothing if no one sees it. Brunson dedicates the final section of Expert Secrets to traffic, and his core philosophy here is beautifully simple. Before you pay for traffic, go find where your audience already lives and show up there. His Dream 100 strategy is one of the most practical pieces in the entire book. The idea is this: identify the 100 people in your market who already have the audience you want. The podcasters, the YouTubers, the bloggers, the Facebook group owners, the influencers. Now, work your way into their world. Comment on their content, share their work, build genuine relationships. Then reach out with collaboration offers, joint ventures, guest appearances, affiliate partnerships. Every time you appear in front of someone else's audience, you are borrowing their trust and their attention. If you deliver real value in that appearance, a portion of their audience becomes your audience. Brunson also emphasizes that the goal is not to buy attention once. It is to create content and systems that earn attention continuously. The people who win long-term are the ones who commit to being visible, valuable, and consistent. Persuasion framework, the one sentence that changes everything. One concept that ties the entire book together is a persuasion principle Brunson pulls from Blair Warren. Warren spent over 10 years studying human persuasion and distilled it into a single sentence. People will do anything for those who encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm their suspicions, and help them throw rocks at their enemies. Let us unpack each part of this. Encouraging their dreams means you believe in their potential even when they don't believe it in themselves. You're the first person who says, "You can actually do this." Justifying their failures means you take the blame off their shoulders. You tell them the reason they haven't succeeded yet is not because they're incapable, it's because they had the wrong vehicle. This creates an instant emotional relief and makes them open to your new opportunity. Allaying their fears means you address their deepest worries with evidence, stories, and support, rather than telling them to stop being afraid. Confirming their suspicions means you validate what they secretly already believed. You were right to feel like something was missing. It was, and here's what it was. And helping them throw rocks at their enemies means you identify the common villain in their story. Maybe it's the broken education system. Maybe it's the diet industry. Maybe it's corporate culture. When you name the enemy, your audience feels understood and united. They feel like they're finally on the right team. When you weave all 5 of these elements into your message, you become more than a teacher or a seller. You become a trusted leader. The prolific zone, how to position your message. Brunson introduces a concept called the prolific zone, which is about finding the sweet spot for your message in the market. He explains that most markets exist on a spectrum. On one end is the mainstream. This is safe, neutral, conventional wisdom. And the problem with conventional wisdom is that it's forgettable. Nobody pays premium prices for what they could find anywhere. On the other end is the extreme fringe, ideas so far out that most people can't take them seriously. And while the fringe gets attention sometimes, it rarely builds sustainable trust. The prolific zone sits right between the mainstream and the fringe. It's bold enough to cause polarity. It challenges the status quo just enough to trigger curiosity, but it's grounded enough in real results that people can take it seriously. His example, bulletproof coffee, the idea of putting butter and coconut oil in your coffee to improve brain performance and burn fat. That's not mainstream, but it isn't insanity either. It sits in the prolific zone, and it made Dave Asprey a multi-millionaire. Your message needs that same kind of polarity. It needs to create a clear line between your tribe and the mainstream crowd they've been frustrated with. And here's something important Brunson wants you to know. When you take a strong position, you will attract haters. Some people won't like you, and that's actually a sign you're on the right track. Dan Kennedy famously said, "If you haven't offended someone by noon each day, you aren't marketing hard enough." You can't have true fans without also having critics. Section 20. The Ask Campaign. Give people what they actually want. Before you build your offer, Brunson insists you do one crucial step that most people skip. Run an ask campaign. The mistake most experts make is assuming they know what their audience wants. They build products based on what they think is valuable, and then they're shocked when nobody buys. The ask campaign is simple. You create a page with one question. What is your number one question about your topic? You offer something free in exchange for answering. Could be a webinar seat, could be a free guide. Then you drive traffic to that page until you have at least 100 responses. When those responses come in, you study them closely. You group similar questions together. You identify the 8 to 10 core concerns that keep coming up over and over. Those concerns become the skeleton of your product. The names your audience uses in their responses become the language of your marketing. And when you speak to people in their own words, they feel like you're reading their minds. The Ask campaign removes all the guesswork. You stop selling what you think people need and start selling what they tell you they want. Mindset shifts from expert secrets. Let's zoom out for a moment and talk about the bigger mindset shifts embedded in this book. The first shift is from performer to leader. You're not trying to impress people with how smart you are. You're trying to guide people from where they are to where they want to be. The second shift is from information to transformation. Nobody needs more information. The internet is full of free information. What people pay for is guided transformation. They pay for accountability, community, and a clear path. The third shift is from salesperson to servant. When you stop seeing sales as an awkward, necessary evil and start seeing it as an act of service, everything about how you show up changes. You become more confident, more generous, and more effective. The fourth shift is from perfectionism to publishing. You're never going to feel completely ready. The audience you could be serving right now doesn't need you to be perfect. They need you to show up and share what you know. And the fifth shift is from scarcity to abundance. Your ideas don't run out. The more you share, the more clarity you develop. The more you teach, the better you understand your own expertise. Giving away value creates more value, not less. Your implementation plan: how to start today.